Alrighty, guys. Happy Monday. It's the first day of our new week, so that's super exciting. Always something to be working toward. So something that's been on my heart, uh, and ironically, Maria Dillard just kind of touched on it a little bit in her meeting if you were on that. So I have a lot of notes from her Zoom that I wanted to share in case anybody forgot the things that stuck out for me, at least in regards to the subject. But today, I'm going to open with a quote that really kind of struck home and how it relates to a team and where it comes to team building. So, the quote's from Pat Riley, and it says, "Complacency is the last hurdle between any team and its potential greatness." So, complacency is something that everybody struggles with. This is not something that it's just for the new people, or um, it's the people that have been here for so long and they're just kind of going with the flow, not really motivated. It affects everybody at some point in every rank, in every industry, and everything that they do in normal life, even. Complacency can literally be a game changer when it comes to your growth. It will actually kill it. So, complacency limits growth, like I just mentioned. It removes motivation, it discourages team involvement, and it takes you out of the game. So, that's something that until you really stop and think, it really is the driving force when someone starts to back off in their business. Uh, it makes you feel like the new norm is actually old now. It's not, you just kind of forget how things were before. So before we get too far into it, I want to have you all just kind of think about your Thrive experience in general and how this relates to not just your business, but your Thrive experience and ultimately why you said yes. And it's not always going to be because you were necessarily complacent, but it's in some way, shape, or form you were. You did, you knew that there were, health decisions you were making as far as your meals, maybe, or your activity levels, or your mood, or whatever. And you were just in this rut. You were stuck. And it took someone reaching out to you to see a change, to see another possibility, to see a different way, maybe a better way. Um, where this comes in and is really important for us as promoters is sharing your experience and always doing lives and talking about how you were before. Because part of getting out of complacency and seeing the growth comes from looking back at the old you, the old way that things were, and the changes you saw that needed to be taken to have a different you today. So, in the form of complacency, and how that comes into leading a team, it requires recognizing the old, recognizing the problem, and saying, you know what, no more. I'm not RCMing like I should be, so I'm going to change that. I'm not reaching out like I should be. I'm going to change that. I'm not telling my story like I should be. I'm going to change that. It requires knowing where you were and where you want to be. And so this is a big thing that Maria was talking about. So I'll get into what she said toward the end if you missed it, because Maria is amazing and it was really good. So I've talked about knowing your people and knowing their stories and knowing where they've been and why Thrive is important to them. So when it comes to complacency, this is really important because you can recognize when people start to slip. If they had this one issue, they didn't like their energy, they didn't like how, non-involved they were or whatever. They get good and then they start to slip and fall backwards. You have to be able to recognize that in your team members. You have to see that in yourself first and foremost, but in your team, and so that you can kind of catch it before it's so far gone that it's really hard to get back. Maintaining this business is probably the most misunderstood thing that there is, in my opinion. Maintaining is so much easier than catching up on things that have fallen off. You reached a rank, you reached 4K, and then you lost it all. It's so hard to rebuild. It's easier to just maintain. That's where the customer retention comes in big time. That's where the leadership mindsets, all of those different Zooms come in. and really take effect, because that's maintaining your mental state, if nothing else. So that's always really important. But with complacency, it's choosing to be stuck or choosing growth. And you always have a crossroad point. It's not, I'm just going to coast and just kind of be content with where I am, because at some point, if you're not growing, you're losing everything you've built. So I wanted to ask in the chat, feel free to pitch in, but what are some things that you've been complacent with, whether in life or in your business, however, but I mean, all of us have been there, obviously. We all know that, just one brownie tonight, it'll be okay. But that one brownie turns into a nibble all the time, every night, or whatever the case may be. But what are some areas that you guys have been complacent in? Is it your weight? Is it your business? Is it, cleaning the house? That's a great one for me, because if you just kind of start to ignore the problems, ignore the dirty dishes in the sink tonight, I'll get them tomorrow. Cleaning and marriage, yep. Ignore the dishes, they'll be okay, I'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes, right? Like, it's always today, it's never tomorrow. So when it comes to the dishes, then it piles up and stuff just gets so overwhelming, because we were complacent, because we didn't address the problem when we saw that it was an issue. So it builds and it grows until it's just overwhelming, right? Like, we don't even want to deal with it because it's just so far gone. So choosing growth, not gross, means seeing complacency and saying enough's enough. I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to have those issues or those problems. I want to make a change, right? So complacency often looks a lot like not striving for your best, not learning new things, not taking advantage of opportunities, for us, not getting on Zooms, muting chats, not checking them. Everybody, I think, is guilty at some point of doing that. The ones I know with my team that I've seen specifically fall off of the business are the ones that permanently mute the chat, and they're just not checking them anymore. They're not investing themselves, involving themselves. It's one thing to mute for an hour or 8 hours overnight if you're trying to go to bed or spend time with a spouse. Don't mute them permanently. And that's like the biggest thing I can advise. Not using your resources. How many resources do we have available to us that are incredible, that Courtney has poured time and money into, that it's available for everybody? But if you're not using them, you're complacent. If you're not growing and using those to help others grow on your team, that's complacency. Assuming others know your story. This is a big one, because we share our stories a lot in the beginning, right? Like, we lean on our Thrive experience. We want to talk about what it's done for our lives, but at some point we hit this like, everybody knows. They've all heard it a million times, a million different ways. So we just kind of stop sharing. You stop talking to people. You stop being excited and ignorance on fire for your experience. So that complacency ultimately gets you nowhere, right? Like, you're not going to keep sharing, then you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to reach people that maybe they didn't see your story. Maybe that next time is the time that they would see it and relate to it. Maybe they've seen it, but they just never relate it. So it's always important to not be complacent in sharing that. Not growing your network or doing RCMs. Everybody's guilty of this at some point, because we all know what RCMs are. We all know what they do. We don't necessarily want to do them every day. So sometimes it's, not today. It'll be okay one day, right? But then that one day turns into lots of days. And ignoring the problem is ultimately like the epitome of all of it. Is, I see a problem, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Not right now. So fighting complacency looks a lot like reconnecting with your team. It is not something that is necessarily too far gone. Maybe for certain people it might be, they may just not want anything to do with it anymore. But when it comes to rebuilding your team and keeping your team engaged, reconnecting and saying, and sometimes even being truthful and intentional with them and saying, look, this is something I know I've not been good at, but this is something that I'm working on. I want to be better in this, and I want us to do it as a team. Just simply acknowledging it sometimes is enough. So remembering where you came from, your story, set goals. Goals, if you're not on the goal setting Zooms on Fridays, that's a big deal. That those goals and learning how to achieve them, because you can say I want to do something all day long, but unless you're going to do something deliberately toward it, it's not just going to fall into your lap. This business is not easy. It's not something that just happens to you. It takes intentionality and very like, I'm going to do this. It takes being driven and deliberate action. So being uncomfortable before Thrive in your VIP period, it's scary, you know, and sometimes it just takes stepping out of your comfort zone and saying, you know what, no more. I'm not going to sit and do the same thing I've been doing, because the same thing I've been doing is going to get me the same results. It's going to take change, action, just going for it, right? Like, go get it. A big thing that I saw, I actually took a screenshot because I was reading an article about complacency, and it said that you should find a mentor. And I thought this was ironic because there's so many people on this team that are incredibly influential and can be mentors. You know, it doesn't take being a 200K to be a mentor. So the screenshot I took, ironically, it said, finding a mentor, find someone you know is doing better than you. This can apply in any area. And this is where I thought was interesting, because I feel like Thrive relates to every area that was literally listed. Fitness, weight loss, cleaning, eating, business, blogging, mothering, and no, that was all. I said cleaning, but I meant clean eating. Regardless, housekeeping, any of these areas are areas that our products can change the game, right? Like, I'm not good at cleaning my house. Cool, let me take my Thrive. I'm not good at mothering because I lose my patience. Let me take my Thrive. Fitness, I'm not motivated. I don't want to do it. I just want to sit on the couch. Thrive. Business, obviously, Thrive. Like, there's so many ways that I thought it was cool that they listed this big long list of all these different ways that being, you know, having a mentor can apply in a certain area of your life, and our products come back to all of them as a root. So I thought that was really cool. But if you recognize it and do nothing, then ultimately you're still choosing complacency. You see the problem, you say, cool, whatever. That's not doing it. So you have two choices. You can remain complacent where you are, but the thing is, if that's your choice, you don't get to complain. If you choose to stay where you are and be stuck, you don't get to complain to your chats. You don't get to complain to your uplines. You don't get to complain about being where you are, because that was a choice, right? Talk about your kids when you're parenting. I know a lot of us are parents. If they want to do nothing about their grades, they want to choose to not do their homework, to do whatever, they're choosing they're not going to grow. They're choosing the non-growth. They're choosing to be stuck. They're choosing to fail at times, right? However, if they decide that they want to change that, we're going to encourage that. We're always going to encourage that. So as a leader of your team, that's ultimately what you need to be doing, is encouraging that growth, seeing the value and what people offer and bring to the table, and leaning into that, pulling that out of them sometimes, because it's not always natural that they're going to see it, but ultimately showing them how to do something about it, how to say enough's enough, and showing up for themselves, showing up for the team, showing up for their goals is huge. And just recognizing something in someone could be the light that they need to step out of their comfort zone, to say, I'm not going to be complacent anymore. I'm going to make a change, and I'm going to need you to hold me accountable for it. The accountability is huge. If you're, as a leader of a team, if you can't recognize what people are doing, you know, where their strong suits are and what they need to grow in, and holding them accountable, then that's a fault as a leader. So personally, that's something I'm always trying to pay attention to, is my people and where they need to grow, what their strong suits are, how they can lean into their strengths, but grow their weaknesses. And we obviously talked about that with the laws of leadership. So into Maria's notes, she said, where do you see yourself down the road, and how do you ultimately get there? So obviously this is relevant because doing the same thing you're doing today ain't going to get you where you want to be. If you're not already growing. If you are consistently growing, then keep doing you, but you still may need to add new things in. So she said, fail forward. Don't be so scared of success all the time, because even if you try something and it doesn't work, you're failing forward. You're not sitting back and being stuck. She said, go back to the basics, but mentally always be moving forward. Obviously, going back to the basics, going back to your story, back to your why. What did you see complacent in your life that you needed thrive, that you needed this product, that you needed the business? Lean into those things. So she said, to make a quantum leap, you have to get out of the rut you're in. You have to make a choice. Make sure you're here and you show up for your community, for your teams, because if you're not here, and clearly all of you are on the Zoom, and I get that it's a midday Monday, it's hard. But if you're showing up, even when it's hard, you're going to make progress in some way, shape, or form. It may not always be your business, may not be your QV, but you're making mental progress. And that's huge, because sometimes that's all you're going to have to lean on when things are hard. So she said, emotions create movement. So if you don't like where you are and you're unhappy, that should be making waves and movement to push you and propel you forward. So she said, retrain your mind to go get what you want. It is totally possible. If you feel stuck, you join the business because you wanted that auto bonus and you've been here a year and you still don't have it. Don't be complacent in that. Progress is not linear, but progress nonetheless. Absolutely. So she was talking about the auto bonus. And if that's why you joined, because you wanted a vehicle and you wanted to make that monthly payment, it may have seemed so far gone that you might not attain it, but maybe you had a year, 2-year timeline on it. Just because you haven't hit it yet, even if you're hitting your timeline and you still haven't made progress with it, just because you haven't hit it doesn't mean you can't. You can absolutely retrain your brain to move forward and keep pushing for that, because that's the only way you're going to get there. My probably famous line with my team is, the only way to fail is to quit. Ultimately, if you give up and you back out of this business, you're clearly never going to get the auto bonus. You're not going to achieve the things. You're not going to get the rank advancement. You're not going to get anything. Guys, we're more than halfway through the month. So if you're going for rank advancement, do not quit. Do not give up on that. That is not too far gone. If everybody pushes, including yourself, I don't know what all the ranks are, but if you push, things are achievable in a short time. It might be hard, but the hard will be worth it at the end of the day. So it's kind of a side note, but she said, you saw the vision at one point, go back to it. Remember that time that you caught that vision. You joined the business because of the bonuses, because of the rank advancements, because of the trip. The rank advancement is the bonus, but the auto bonus, you saw the trip and you wanted that. So keep pushing for it. Retrain your brain. It's not so far gone that it's never attainable. It's only unattainable if you don't want to work for it. Because this is not an easy business. It's not just going to fall in your lap. So dreams become reality when actions are pursued. Then she used this analogy of a rubber band. I was hoping I always have my daughter's hair ties. Regardless, she's talking about a rubber band and how it is absolutely useless unless it's being stretched. Its purpose is not fulfilled unless it's being stretched. And then somebody put in the chat, if it's not being stretched, it will become brittle and ultimately will break. Right? Like how many times have you found a rubber band in a drawer and you're like, cool, I need this right now. You go to wrap it around something and it just snaps because it's been sitting there for who knows how long, unused, in a drawer. Don't let that be you. Stretch yourselves, grow your mind, grow your capabilities and your vision, your goals, because once you fulfill them and you just get complacent and sit there, you're not going to keep growing your goals. Our vision boards should be changing regularly. If you haven't challenged your team to create vision boards, maybe that's somewhere that they need. That's something they need. Let's make vision boards together on a team Zoom. Let's do, whatever we need to do, because We're going to dream. We're going to have little dreams that are attainable, but we're going to have big dreams too. I have a house on my vision board. We're in the Army for the next 9 years. We're not buying a house anytime soon. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we will. I don't know. But ultimately, it's a forever home that I want to build. And that's what it is on my vision board. So that's a long-term goal that I will achieve. It's a matter of when. But I also have little things, like pay off debt, pay off, whatever. Right now it's 40K rank advancement. It's not a little goal per se, but it's something that's attainable and quick, like it's a timeline, quick, attainable. So that's something that I absolutely encourage you to do for your teams. If you have not have a team Zoom where you all get together and make a vision board party. If you have local people near you, have them over. Let's make vision boards. Let's get posters and go back to like our science fair days where we all sat out with our glitter and our, like made a big mess. All the glue and all the pictures cut out of magazines, but do it, make it fun. No plateaus are in this business. If you're not going up, like fighting the uphill battle, you're coasting backwards. If you think about riding a bike uphill, if you stop, it's going to come back down. And it may happen quick, it may happen slow, but ultimately there's no plateaus. You're not just going to sit steady doing nothing. You're either going up or you're going down. If you're not growing somehow, then you're losing what you did, what growth you did have. You're losing it. You should probably quit a lot of things, but never quit your dreams. Was a quote from Maria's Zoom. And I thought it was really cool because no clue to how to even start a vision board. I don't know who iPad 3 is. Message me. Let's do a vision board. Let's figure it out. I got you. Canva is amazing if you want digital. If not, like literally scrapbook style, cut up some magazines, do what you got to do. But I will help you with that because that is something that I really enjoy doing. So again, the quote was, you should probably quit a lot of things, but never quit your dreams. So if you think about all the bad habits we all have, we got lots of bad habits that we do. There's lots of things, quit being a negative person, quit being self-doubting, quit, there's so many bad habits, especially mental. There's a lot of stuff you should quit, but you should never quit your dreams, never quit your visions that you have for your goals. Never stop those things because that will mentally kill you. I mean, really, like it is draining to not be making progress somehow, some way, not have motivation. So I'm going to end on a quote that I found. It's by Andy Grove, and it says, "Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure, and only the paranoid survive." So if you are not paranoid about not accomplishing your dreams, get paranoid. Because ultimately, if you're not pushing toward them, it's not just going to happen one day. You have to be making moves, moving mountains to reach your dreams. And ultimately, when you have that success, always come back to that and remember that, because success is what breeds complacency. You will get to a point where you say, cool, I have what I wanted. If you reach your dreams, you cross things off of your vision board, put new ones on it. Keep yourself pushing. Keep your team pushing, growing your downline, recognizing their goals and helping hold them accountable to reaching theirs as well. Emily said you should never quit a lot of things, but you should quit a lot of things, but never quit. Yeah, you're just, okay. I can read, I promise. I love you guys. I hope that helped. Complacency is a terrible, terrible thing. And, like I said, we all fall into it at times. I'm not preaching to you all without looking in the mirror, because this is absolutely something that's been heavy on me lately. Just with all the different changes happening. So you're very welcome, Whitney. I really, really hope that you guys took something away from this. And if you, like I said, if you need help with anything, please, Christian, get in my inbox. Let's talk about your vision boards. have team vision boards, guys. Like, it's ultimately, they all talk about it all the way up the chain. Paul talks about vision boards and why you should have them. So very, very, very important for sticking, avoiding complacency. So I love you guys. Happy Monday. And don't forget, we have mindset tonight at 6 Central, 7 Eastern, and then followed by inspiration at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. So can't wait to see you guys tonight. And